Down there.
So good evening, everyone. Welcome to my colleagues on the council, town staff, members of the public, both online, watching online, and those here in person. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the East Greenwich Town Council for May 11th, 2026. And I'll ask our town clerk to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please stand. Allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In addition to our town clerk, Lee Carney,
Yeah.
joining me on the dais, we have our finance director, Patricia Sunderland, town manager, Andrew Nada. I'm Mark Schwager. We have town councilor Karen Kornthal, town councilor Renu Engelhardt, and our solicitor way down at the end there, Andrew Tights. Councilor Donegan will be absent tonight, and Councilor Zarella has been delayed, but he will be joining us shortly. The next item on our calendar today is a public comment. This is an opportunity for residents to make their opinions known to the council if they'd like to come forward for items that are not on the agenda. Is there anyone here who'd like to make public comment, or anyone online? If no one here has any comments, then we will close public comment. There's another opportunity for public comment at the end of our meeting. This brings us to the consent calendar. These are routine items that can be voted as a group unless one of the councilors would like to remove a consent calendar item for further discussion. The items tonight are minutes from the April 27th, 2026 regular meeting of the council. Item 3B is minutes from the May 4th special meeting of the council. Item 3C is award of contracts to Next Gen Mechanicals for the emergency repair on the police department's air conditioning unit in the amount not to exceed $11,500, with authorization for the finance director to reimburse funds from the police department's building improvement fund for purposes specified in the recommendation to award this contract. 3D is approval of a petition for Narragansett Electric to install a new utility pole and anchors on Middle Road. Would anyone like an item removed for further discussion?
No.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety.
So moved. Second.
In a second, all those in favor? Motion carries 3-0.
4.
We now have 4. You want to be included in that? We'll make that 4-0. The next item on our agenda is public hearing. Item 4A on our public hearing is an application for outdoor amplified sound permit for 2026 for the following businesses: Finn's Harborside, the Greenwich Club, Mainsail Kitchen, which was formerly Bezos, Steve Philippou's Twisted Pizza, and Wild Harvest. Before anyone comes forward, I just want to ask our clerk which of these applications is ready for review tonight.
Thank you. Tonight, the only one that is ready for discussion is Finn's Harborside, and Connor Finn is here to talk to you.
Great. Mr. Finn, can you come forward?
How's everybody doing?
I mean, we have to have you sworn in tonight.
Okay. I do. Okay. Connor Finn.
Welcome, Mr. Finn. First, I'd like to hear from our clerk to bring us up to date on the status of this application.
With regard to the outdoor amplified sound, which is the only item that we're discussing tonight, testing was done late last week. Results have been forwarded to me and uploaded to the portal. So that is up for discussion as far as if that meets the criteria or not. I didn't really dig that deep into it. So I was hoping maybe the solicitor or somebody else could just double check that what I forwarded to the group is acceptable.
Okay, so the application has been uploaded. Is there anything else besides the application that is required to consider?
No, just payment of the fee because it was a new request. So we'll settle that up later.
Mr. Tights, we may need your input on this application.
Thank you. I have reviewed the testing report by
Ascentec or Acentec, I don't know how they pronounce it, and an Abby Snyder. And it does appear that they did the DBC testing as well as the DBA. The only thing that concerns me is when they did it at full volume level, they were not compliant. So they're suggesting the master volume should be set to 7 out of 10. And I just am concerned as to how that will be enforced. What's to stop somebody from being adventurous and say, "Oh, come on, it's not loud enough. Crank it up a bit." Or in the words of an old movie, turn it up to 11. So how is that going to be enforced that it will not be set above 7?
So the amplifier, am I talking?
Sure, go ahead.
The amplifier is actually located in my office. When we did the test, I turned it all the way up, basically to the point where I didn't want to blow the speakers out. And that was kind of at the maximum level, to where we noted, okay, it needs to be at 7 and we're within the decibel range. So a solo musician or a 3-piece, we don't really have the 5-piece bands anymore. They don't have access to that. So it's solely my discretion or a manager within the restaurant.
I guess I would suggest that a condition of the license be that there be a sign placed prominently by the amplifier indicating that by law, it may not be set above that.
That's no problem at all.
And then, as you know, the law provides if there is a complaint or if the police are investigating, they can come in and they have the right to come in and see what it's set at.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mr. Tights, this is Mr. Finn's first amplified sound permit under the new regulation. So I don't know if there's any bullet points that you'd like to just review with him to make sure that he understands the compliance requirements of the ordinance.
I mean, no, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. That's really the one of the key points, the understanding that as a condition of the license, you agree to let the police into the premises and actually check it. The other thing too is, did you submit a list of the equipment that's being used here? The amplifier, the speakers and so forth?
No, I wasn't aware of that. I can email that to you tomorrow.
Well, to the clerk.
Okay.
Because that's the requirement. This test was done with specific equipment. And the idea is this is your equipment. Bands don't bring any of their own equipment in. They use your house equipment.
Yeah.
But we want to have a list. What I'd really like to do is have you provide from this Abby Snyder
Okay.
a list of what the equipment was when she did this testing. Because
Yes.
that's the key. That's the tie together so that the police come and they check also that the same equipment is used. Nobody sneaks in another subwoofer or something like that.
Yeah, no problem at all.
I mean, I
It's
see that you
similar
did.
to what's mounted around us right now. There's 6 speakers underneath that
Okay.
10 and then an
Okay.
amplifier in the office.
Okay, but we need that documented.
Yeah.
So those are really the 3 unusual aspects of it are the pink noise test that was done, the use of the equipment that stays there instead of each band bringing in their own equipment, and then my concern about the level. So that's.
Thank
I
you
just
for.
want to say, I appreciate your willingness to work with what the solicitor is.
Oh, no, no
And,
problem.
I really thank you for that. That's
Yeah,
one of
I
the
think the
big-
ordinance was changed, I think 2024
Mhm.
when we had the fire. And then I was in communication with Lee last year and now is the time we're getting back going. So,
Thank you, neighbor.
So are there other questions from the council? Other questions? I think it sounds like you understand the basic requirements. It's a standard amplification system that really can't be changed, even though you may be having different performers come in.
yeah,
And we appreciate you getting the system properly tested and coming before us tonight. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to comment on this application before we vote on it, either in person or online?
Judge, Mark, I'm so used to saying judge. I did check with the solicitor. The fact that I won 2 trivia contests and have gift certificates is not a contest.
perfect.
Hey, we're glad that you can participate.
For you.
Anybody online, Mr. Wheeler? Okay, so I'd look for a motion to approve the outdoor amplified sound permit.
So
for,
moved.
Second.
I haven't finished yet. For Finn's Harborside, with the added condition that a sign will be posted on the amplifier. I guess that's the master switch.
Yeah.
To clarify that the volume will not be turned up past 7, level 7.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
You good luck. Thank you.
All set.
We do have a number of other applicants who are still awaiting their testing. So I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing for Greenwich Club, Main Sale Kitchen, Steve Filippo's Twisted Pizza and Wild Harvest to a date certain. Lee, should we put this on the 26th if we're going to meet that day?
I would say so, yes. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll just continue those other restaurants until the 26th. So I'll ask for a motion to
So-
put that into effect.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0. I'm going to delay item 4B for one moment so that we have another business owner here tonight. We want to make sure that he can get his business taken care of before we launch into our budget hearing. So we're going to skip forward to item 5, which is unfinished business. This is a review and possible action on the renewal of a Class BV alcoholic beverage license with vittling and entertainment for Low Key Cafe located at 205 Main Street. This was continued from March 9th. Good evening, Mr. Flanders. You don't need to be sworn in tonight, but I will just say for background that Mr. Flanders is the license holder for Low Key, and he appeared before this board on November 24th and March 9th. Mr. Flanders explained that his business experienced a significant leak from the roof in February of 2025, which forced a closure, and repairs are pending approval from his insurance claims. So the council has voted to approve the license renewal in a granted but not issued basis until May 11th tonight. So we want to hear an update for the business from Mr. Flanders. So good evening.
Good evening. I spoke to Lee earlier today, and I believe all my renewal documents are in order. Construction has started from my landlord's side. He repaired the leak area of the roof and also fixed some of the structural stuff. And so I'm in touch with an architect right now. And so I'm fixing all the betterments that were damaged, and I'm also moving the bar along the right wall. And so I'm getting a building permit. I've met with the building inspector. He's aware of everything. So everything's moving along, and hopefully I'd like to get it open as soon as possible. I'm just making sure it's done right. And so things are progressing well now.
Zach, when do you plan on having everything done so that you can reopen?
It's within two or 3 months. So I'm meeting with the architect tomorrow. So everything should be really, so I've already met with the builders, the electrician. So everything's moving.
So you're not planning on being open in May or June?
I would love to, if they can get it done. I'm going to see. As soon as I get these plans done, they're going to start working. So
I have no objections to moving this to the first week in July or somewhere around that time.
I was thinking, really, nothing has changed very much, and rather than have you come before us again, we can extend that period of time, and then you wouldn't have to come back.
I'd appreciate it.
yeah.
If that was the case. I know I just want this done so I can open. So
Mhm.
I'm working my best to get it going. So if you rule that way, that would be great. Just, it would save me
Yeah. Thank you for your comments. Lee, what other items are still pending for this application?
There is really nothing. Everything is up to date. Zach and I were just talking before the meeting that, it wouldn't hurt to get a subsequent approval from building, fire and zoning. I think once you get your valet up, if you're going to do valet again, we might need to revisit that agreement, but basically that's it.
I did just recently have a new one uploaded, so it should be good up until the next renewal. But
Okay.
If not, I would
Yeah.
revisit it, but she just drew it up again.
Okay.
So
So if it's contingent upon full compliance as determined by the clerk, then I'll work with Zach to make sure that everything is in place.
Okay.
Fine, so we don't need a new date,
Well, I was going to push it out to say September 1st.
but he could open before the date.
Yes.
Okay, that's
If you,
fine.
if you get all of the certificates and the clerk approves it, then you'll just have the license issued.
the fire marshal and building inspector said they would come back out again when everything's done and give it the okay to open. So yeah, that's fine.
Mr. President, the first meeting in September is the 14th.
Okay. So I'd look for a motion to approve the license renewal on a granted but not issued basis pending full compliance as determined by the clerk until September 14th.
I'll move.
Second.
Motion a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
luck.
Luck,
getting
Zach.
Thanks.
things going.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to return back to our public hearing. Item 4B is a presentation from the town manager and discussion by counselors on the proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2027. And this presentation will include departmental overviews. On May 4th, the council and public heard a presentation from our town manager, Andrew Nada, on his proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2027. Tonight's public hearing is a continuation of the May 4th presentation with additional presentations and information from the department heads. This is also a public hearing, and members of the public will have the opportunity to deliver comments and ask questions related to tonight's presentation. So I'll turn the presentation over to Mr. Nada.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Swager, members of the council. I'd like to just do a brief recap of where we are tonight in the process before I turn things over to Trish Sunderland, who's going to move on to tab 3, and then we'll follow that with tab 4 and 5 of the individual departments. As the president just noted, we're kind of following our first budget workshop from last Monday, May 4th. At that time, we reviewed at a very high level just the format of the overall budget document, which is about 290 pages, as well as received and reviewed a brief 17-page presentation that just covered topics at a very high level, including the process and timeline, key budget metrics, budget overview, including a presentation of a $97.1 million all-fund budget, the proposed 6.88% tax levy increase, budget at a glance, including the general fund at $29.9 million, total property tax required at $71.3 million, the school transfer at a 4% or $44.7 million, and a debt service transfer of just over $6 million. Additional subjects were revenue sources and trending, property tax analysis with proposed tax rates of 16.76 for a residential rate, 27.75 for commercial, and a stationary 45.50 for the personal property tax. Operating transfers out to the school, debt service and library, the school construction project, structural pressure shaping the FY27 program, including revenue and expenditure imbalance, school construction debt, healthcare and pension cost escalation, and the need to diversify revenues, as well as state and federal aid uncertainty and the need for infrastructure investment and various financial policies and targets. So at a high level at that first meeting, we don't really, I know it seems when I cover those topics, we do dive into a lot of detail, but we really don't. We just kind of set the table as the council and community would have just received the budget the prior Friday. So they only had it for the weekend going into that Monday meeting. But this evening, we are geared up for a transition moving past tabs 1 and 2 to tab 3. We'll cover subject matter in much more detail than we did at that first meeting. In a few moments, I'm going to turn things over to Trish, who developed really all of tab 3, which is really the statistical financial breakdown of the entire budget itself, looking at trending, looking at actuals from prior years, and then projecting forward. She will also cover a number of subjects that you'll see in the presentation, including a tremendous amount of information on the combined statement of sources and uses, the tax calculation, revenues by category and source, revenue drivers, revenue overview, expenditure overviews, our full-time employment schedule, as well as the capital improvement program, the pay-as-you-go element, and we'll also look again at the school debt service. When Trish wraps that up, we'll move on to move into individual departments. We're going to start off with tab 4 tonight, which includes the town manager's office, which includes the town council and HR. Then we'll move on to the town clerk, board of canvassers, municipal court and probate court, as well as legal services. When that's concluded, we'll move on to tab 5 in the budget document that includes the finance department, information technology, planning, community services. That also encompasses parks, recreation, harbor management, and human services. And then we'll finish up tonight with a look at our prevention and support services. At that point, we'll probably pause and answer any questions that the council may have. But before I turn things over to Trish, I just wanted to make a couple of clarifying comments that we're all engaged as a professional staff with comments and conversations that happen in the community. So we follow those, which we should, just to get a temperature as to how things are being received. What I would like to say is that we as a professional staff fully understand what the proposed budget means to certain people in the community. The proposed tax impact is significant, and that's why we started prompting conversation on this subject several years ago, when potential designs for the future of the school district were being considered as part of the school construction initiative. Clearly, by far, $150 million initiative is by far the largest initiative ever undertaken by the community. And we knew at that time that it was going to have a significant effect. I will say at the time, we didn't really have context. We didn't know exactly what the overall project would cost, although bonding up to an amount of authorization of $150 million was approved. Beyond that, we really didn't know the timing of the project, and the timing does have a direct impact on debt issuance and when interest and principal is due, which does affect your annual tax impact. Now, that doesn't have a lot of meaning to a lot of people, but it does in this perspective, because this year in FY26, we were anticipating 2 years of significant impact, but that was advanced to this year where we started to incur interest cost, which put us in a position in FY26 of having over a 5.4% levy impact. We knew FY27 and 28 were going to be the more significant impacts in terms of interest and principal, in terms of the debt that we were incurring. So really now it's about 2.5, 2.75 years that we're going to sustain an impact on a go-forward basis. So, if you recall when I'll say we landed the $150 million obligation, but there were significant groups in the community as well as individuals who were lobbying for initiatives that were costed at a number much lower, and then some at numbers much higher than the 150. So the 150 is where we landed it. Although I will say that it is a subject that we discussed in some significance over the past several years, and which was ultimately landed in 2023 with a referendum as required for any type of to write back for any type of borrowing for a school initiative at just under 70% of local voter support. So that, and I say that not to say that we got you and that everybody approved it, but the fact that prior to that referendum, leading through the referendum, and since the referendum, there has been an exhaustive, deliberative dialogue on the potential impact of these funds. So now we're seeing them, and now we have context to know what the timeline of the project is and what the cost will directly mean for each resident in town. And it's a significant cost. So I note that just so that the community understands, we're well aware of that. We followed it closely, and we have pushed out more information than I think we thought anybody would ever read, because we knew of the impact that was going to be coming. So A couple of other comments I wanted to make. In recent times, there's been very little growth in government. You hear me say a lot of times, we're a very lean organization. And I think most people probably shake their head and say, yep, okay, Andy, you're really lean. But, the general fund's a $30 million program. But what I will tell you is that we did constrict during COVID. Coming out of COVID, there were a number of departments. We made aggressive decision making when there was total uncertainty as to what kind of funding we were going to have available. Economic support, our fee schedule, our normal revenues had basically ceased to exist. And so we really didn't know where we were going to be moving. So we downsized. And I think there were a lot of municipalities that just sat back and waited. We didn't really wait. We downsized. So we faced a number of other issues coming out of that period in terms of uncertainty with federal and state aid, loss of revenues, a stagnant economy, HR challenges in terms of hiring and getting people who wanted to work and actually come into work to service the public at that time, service delivery issues. And then we slowly over time, as we moved past COVID, and it still impacts us today, we've started to refill those jobs. But I will say the philosophy that we use is not one of a municipal employee that's hired is hired for life because the organization never changes and it only gets larger. That's just not true. So I think most municipalities don't change much. They don't restructure as much as they should. And they don't upgrade and update their people as demands and public expectations change. They do change. And over time, I think we have been incredibly aggressive, especially in specific departments. And we're going through that even today. And if you may hear that from a couple of the speakers tonight, a couple of the directors, we're going through additional restructuring. Sometimes there's a demand to expand. And a lot of times, there's a demand to kind of withdraw and constrict. And I think we do all of that. So I think you'll find as you listen and look through the process that we're going to have this year, I think the presentation is much more scripted and much more detailed regarding all of the information that I'm referring to. I think our directors are going to highlight as they move through their presentations, a lot more detail associated with some of the changes that they're undergoing and the things that we're doing to be better prepared to enhance and continue to deliver public services. There's times that I do mention, and it does come up at a meeting that there's growth, right? But I will tell you that a lot of times it's not growth in the sense of a few departments there actually is legitimate growth, but many times there's not significant growth in a municipal department. What I'm talking about is really we're replacing state and federal aid that we're not getting or that we're losing, and we see an erosion in those accounts with municipal funds. So we're actually seeing growth, or at least I'll call it a higher demand to backfill with local dollars, funding that we're just not getting any longer for any abundance of reasons from the state or the federal level. We're relying much more on technology than we ever have before. And that's just not because technology is available, because it helps us better serve the public and it helps us maintain our personnel structure the way we have it. So we are strategically not trying to add people unless we need to add people. And there are times that we do need to add bodies, but it doesn't happen that often and it doesn't happen quickly. An example I would make is with our school department. I see our superintendent here tonight. So it was just a couple of years ago, we were looking at enrollment that was about 2,550 students. Today, it's 2,400. Now, most of the meetings that I'm engaged with the superintendent and other members of his administrative team, the redistricting committee and others, we talk a lot about growth and capacity of our new buildings and do we have enough capacity? Very rarely do we talk about the erosion and enrollment that we've had. So we've gone down to 2,400 students. So when we talk about future capacity, and I'm one of those believers that thinks that once the new schools are built, it's going to stabilize. We may see an uptick, an in-migration of students that maybe had migrated to private schools or just tried something else that wasn't working for them in the public school. But I see us just refilling capacity the enrollment numbers that we previously had. I'm really not looking at us because we would be an outlier statewide if we really fell into that category, just due to the cost of living in East Greenwich, the property values that we have. And so it's really for a fine market of those that have means and have resources and want their children to experience a public school environment. And there's only a few communities like East Greenwich in that particular respect. That's kind of one piece. I mean, today we're really looking more with the district on the revenue, facility use, class sizing, and staffing need. So on the municipal side, as we restructure, it's more challenging in the school district to do that because you don't want to, reduce particular staff and faculty in a given grade, and then a few years from now have to try to rehire because you're probably not going to be able to rehire that same person. So it's a bit of a tracking challenge within the district, but we go through the same thing on the municipal side. An example in terms of growth would see, I see our public safety and our fire department here. 2 years from now, we're gonna see the first expansion of public safety personnel in the town that we've seen in my tenure, and I think for many years before that. We negotiated the active use of a third rescue, which I think the chief can defend in terms of the number of calls that we're seeing during the day shift only. So we're going to be hiring at the conclusion of the contract 2 new EMS professionals. The caveat to that is, with that additional work, they also bring in rescue billing. So they're going to cover most, if not all, of the expense that's associated with their hiring. Most departments can't actually say that, but in this particular case, they can see that. So that's going to be the first expansion that we see in many years in terms of our public safety. But one thing you're going to hear from everybody tonight is we're really focused more on bolstering and diversifying revenues. I know that's hard to say when we're looking at a tax impact of some significance. But what we're looking at is in terms of reassessing services that we offer, reassessing. All departments presently are going through a fairly aggressive fee schedule review to make sure that we're in sync with all of the state mandates, where we're in accordance with all the state regulations associated with departments that have caveats and guidelines in terms of what they can charge. We're looking at various services that we've offered for many years that we don't charge a fee for, that a handful of people or hundreds in the community avail themselves, but the rest of the community has been paying for. An example of that would be our transfer station. We've talked about that quite a bit in terms of the facilities plan update for wastewater. We talk about the need for additional spacing. So Director Gomes provided me with an update where that service is really a duplicate service. We're the smallest town in Rhode Island that I'm aware of that provides curbside trash pickup. So we not only provide curbside pickup, we also provide a transfer station. I challenge you to find a community that does both, right? So, and the transfer station is free. There's no charge for it. So we have, hundreds of people that avail themselves of that. Some may just avail themselves for the extra ability to get rid of yard waste, but that's a $140,000 on average annual expense. So in a tough year like this, when we start to look at where the charges are coming from and the types of services that we can offer, that's an area that at a future meeting, we're not going to discuss it tonight, but in the coming meetings, we're going to bring back to the council as requested by President Swager and other members of the council, a couple of scenarios that we're going to look at. But we're going to look at the transfer station and other services that are long-time established services that I think we need to, when we're balancing the significant cost of the new initiatives we're taking on, we have to go back and kind of reassess where we are to be able to be able to have a community discussion on kind of what we're looking for. And if people are comfortable in retaining the service, then maybe it's time that those who use the transfer station maybe should pay for that service separate and apart, because the whole community subsidizes that for hundreds of people who use it for sparingly for different reasons. So we're going to be looking at all of those in a way that we can attempt to mitigate overall cost and tax impact for the entire community based on limited services that are used by a much smaller population in the community. So I'm going to stop there. One of the things I wanted to mention is, as everybody here knows, there was a major power shift that just occurred at the State House. And I think many would say it's going to be just consistent, but that never happens. So, if you're a number one or a number two in an organization and you're number two, we're going to see if the number two, Mr. Blazewski, can function as a number one, and let's assume that he can function at that level. But I would assume that things are going to be a little bit different under his direction than former Speaker Shikarchi, and he's going to have his own agenda of priorities that he wishes to move on. So it's unclear the number of legislative elements that we've been contemplating at all our council meetings in recent months. what direction they're going to go, or are they just going to be given a pass for this upcoming session? So there's a lot of moving targets that may affect this budget prior to budget adoption by the council on or before June 10th. So we're gonna have to wait and see exactly how that plays out.
Andy, one thing, can you, in looking at the budget, every single department, sorry, you want to just address the really huge increase for health, dental, and even life insurance.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
just-
so,
just-
yep, we are expecting, and I've already had this conversation with a number of our bargaining units, that, we have seen a shift in healthcare industry. We were pretty stable at anywhere from 3 to 6% per year. We have recently seen, for a number of reasons, just a major shift in overall cost. So I would anticipate that that's probably going to be the number one topic in our next round of negotiations, in terms of sharing in that cost as we go forward. I would say one thing that we're fortunate to be a member of the Interlocal Trust. I think initially, and I know the school committee went through that deliberation as well. And I think normally, and I've been in a lot of council meetings and I've watched a lot of meetings around the state, and typically everybody reacts the same way. Boy, if you're getting an 8% or 10% or 12 or 15% increase from the trust, you should look elsewhere and do your business elsewhere. And then you quickly realize that in terms of health benefits, those that are doing business directly with Blue Cross are seeing anywhere from a 20 to 35% increase. So overall, the pooling effect, and you've heard me say this in the past, the broad spectrum of programs that are offered at the trust, the fact that we have a pooling effect that helps smooth our costs on years where we're having a very poor experience or trending over the past 2 to 3 years, we're able to smooth that out. In years that we're doing incredibly well, we may give up a little bit to support those communities that are doing poorly at the time, but ultimately, we make out in terms of the overall cost impact. So I agree, Karen, it's something that we were hoping. We were at 11% with some changes that we just recently made in terms of the GLP-1 drug access through our medical coverage. We've been able to lower that number into the 8s. We got it below 9% into the 8s, if not a little bit lower. So we're feeling fortunate that we're one of the lowest in Rhode Island at this point in terms of that impact. So we're going to continue to track that. I think later, not as part of the budget process, but I think later in the year, inviting a number of trust representatives to the council, and maybe directly talking to that point, as well as educating the council on all the programs that the trust has, would be, I think, beneficial for everybody. So I'm going to turn things over to Trish at this moment, and we'll circle back probably either on depending on what the council's pleasure is, on the 19th of May or on the 26th, depending on when our next budget workshop is, regarding the scenario as we're at 6.88%. We're going to look at 3 scenarios in more detail: 6.5%, 6.25%, and 6%. Those numbers equate to reductions in the overall general fund school transfer program. 6.5%, we'd have to reduce about 260,000. 6.25%, we'd have to reduce about 430,000, and 6%, we'd have to reduce the program by about 600,000. And prior to getting to that point, at that same meeting, we'll highlight all of the reductions that have already been made to get us to the 6.88%, just so the community and council have a good perspective on kind of where we started and where we ended up landing. But I'm going to turn that's much longer than I wanted to talk, but I'm going to turn things over to Trish to move into tab 3 and kind of break down some of the finances for us. And I'm sure the council is going to have some questions on some of her financial detail. Trish.
Thank you, Andy. So I'm going to just quickly go through the summary of expenditures and revenues, and stop me if you have any questions.
Trish, where are you in the slide?
Is it 18?
16.
Which slide?
18.
Is this the PowerPoint that you downloaded
Presentation.
today?
Yes.
Which slide? is
Page
it?
18. Yeah, so the presentation includes the May 4th presentation. And that's the first 17 pages. And then this presentation for May 11th starts on page 18.
Okay, thank you. Combined statement. I've got that.
So what you have here is a summary of revenues and expenditures for each of the budgeted funds. Overall, the increase from the adopted budget is, it's an increase of 6.85%. The general funds increase is 4.05%. The schools increase from the adopted budget is 3.5. Debt service is 44%. Wastewater is 6.8, and the library is a 3% increase overall. This just shows you how each of the funds are funded through tax dollars and other revenue sources. Next slide, Tim. This is a slide, and this shows the tax cap calculations. So the first column is where we are today in 2026. Based on the state law, we know that the cap is 4%. That would have generated $2.7 million in increase in tax levy. But the current budget is required to, is in need of a $4.698 million increase, which is a 6.88% tax cap. Right now, the current tax rate is 15.57, and the actual rate that we're proposing for the current budget is 16.76. The next slide is just a summary of the categories of the revenue sources. The first category is property taxes. That's an increase of 6.42 over the current adopted budget, and the current taxes required to balance the budget is $71,696,000, and that's a 7% increase over the current year. The next category is state and federal revenues. The amount is $4,408,000 is being proposed. And that's a 5.5% increase over the current year. And licenses and permits, and all of these other revenue sources associated with licenses and permits and departmental fees and the miscellaneous fees. These are all revenue sources, other revenue sources that are generated by what each department is doing internally based on licenses, fees, permits, and things of that nature that they charge. So we are currently looking at increasing those fees, and this particular budget does reflect those increases in the fees.
Trish, can I ask you a
Can I-
question? Sorry.
Go ahead.
On the state and federal aid, the meals and beverage tax, other taxes, the pilot, do you have any information on that? Is it in the governor's budget?
This is from the governor's budget.
From the governor's budget?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little bit conservative from the governor's budget. His budget is a little, it's recommended to be a little bit higher than the 1.2. But there's 3 phases of the budget process, so it still needs to go through the House too.
And Andy, I don't know if you've heard, as far as legislatively, whether there's any pressure on the pilot programs for this budget. It hasn't really come up as a part of the governor's budget.
It hasn't. I think annually the League of Cities and Towns does attempt to put pressure to increase the percentage that we receive. And clearly they're not going to do it. We're fortunate to be within a group in the urban core that does also benefit. So sometimes their lobbying efforts are able to gain some traction. So, but we have not heard at this point in terms of any erosion in that percentage.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, I'm sorry, Renew, on the pilot question, Mark, this is in arrears. So this is what we will be receiving in 2027 because it's in arrears based on our certified tax roll that we submit in July.
Okay.
So last July, we submitted these values.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you just explain that again? So the state pilot revenue is the money that is in arrears from the state that they have not yet paid? Is that?
It's what we submitted in last year's when we certified the tax roll last year.
Yeah.
This is what we certified last year. This pilot is for the hospitals.
Oh,
This is
okay.
New England Tech. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
the
I was just
14
like, wait a minute.
14,000.
New England Tech is in the line above where it says general property taxes.
Okay.
That's New England Tech. And then the state pilot revenues are the hospitals.
Okay. Can I also I'm sorry, may I just clarify on that on the hospitals? Does it include like the like nursing home situation? No, it's just the like Care New England or the women and infants.
This is women and infants in Kent.
Okay. And then can I ask on the meals and beverage tax? This is coming from the governor, the 1.2. Seems a little low. I mean, do we qualify for more? We seem like I would have thought we would have qualified for more meals and beverage tax.
Well, you
Yeah.
can see in prior year, in the actual in 2025, we received $1.1 million from
Yeah.
the state. I'm estimating to receive $1.2 million.
It was just the past couple of years that it exceeded $1 million. So it's been slowly growing
Okay.
based on the activity.
And that's
Yep.
not us who does that taxing on, that's coming from the state itself, correct?
That's a pass through. It's a 1% pass through.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Those are my two questions. Oh, wait, one more. Public service corporate tax, what's that?
That's the telephone tax.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you.
I'm glad, Trish, you qualified the revenue from New England Tech that's in the general property taxes. Is that under the same program, the same pilot program, as far as the oversight from the state? It's in arrears
It
from
is.
last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the decline in investment income obviously is the rates. It's reflected of a reduction in the investment rates currently. And also, we had an influx of ARPA money. We had $3.7 million, of which we've spent over $2 million. So cash we have on hand is less. We also did advance the money for out of the fund balance for the public safety dispatch project as well. So we'll be repaying that back over time. So we have had an erosion in our unassigned fund balance for investment purposes. And then just going down the revenues, the tax transfers from the proposed budget from the adopted budget is an increase of $3.5 million, about 7%. And the overall general fund increase is 1.2 or 4%. Basically, I think the town manager had explained, we have the revenue drivers on the next page, Tim. Just the revenue drivers that we are significant revenue drivers, 6.88% in the tax cap levy. And obviously that is really attributed to the amount of money is required to balance the budget in the debt service fund. 4% transfers going to the school department, which is an increase of $1.7 million. 44% increase in the tax transfer going to the debt service fund, which is 1.776. Associated with, I will be I'm issuing the $4 million revenue bond, road bond through RIB. That should be sold this month in May, the end of the month. And I just sold the remaining $5 million for the school department. That was 2.375, and I see our superintendent. So we want to get spending that. You have about $1.3 million left in that bond. So we do want to get spending that now that we've issued it. And then I issued in April, the same with the school bond, I issued 1.85, the town capital equipment bond. As well as I have budgeted for $3.8 million in interest expense for the second year of phase one of the $150 million school bond. I do not anticipate issuing phase two until FY28. Prior year taxes have decreased due to an uptick in the current collection rate. And again, as we discussed in the payment in lieu of taxes, New England Tech is estimated to increase $38,000, and that's due to the increase in the tax rate. Moving on to state and federal, just as we explained, motor vehicle excise tax comes straight from the budget. That was phased out in 2023. The tangible property tax exemption, that's been level funded. Again, that was phased out in June of 24. That reimbursed the town $546,000 from the state general funds for lost tax revenue. Licenses and permits and departmental revenues have increased slightly, about $78,000. And again, as I stated, all non-property tax revenues currently under review by our departments. Unassigned fund balance is being level funded this year at $500,000. And as I will reiterate, we have advanced some funds out of the unassigned fund balance for, I think the amount was $1.6 million for the dispatch. So we'll be reimbursing that over probably 6 years. Moving on to the next page is the sewer fees for the wastewater treatment. Minor increase in the rate for the sewer use customers. The proposed budget is 5.14. And for sewer use fees, we need to generate $4.6 million in revenues. It's about $400,000 over the current year to balance that budget. Within that budget, we have sewer assessment fees and road assessment fees. Those are also are on a 10 and 20-year payback. The roads are a 10-year payback, and the sewer assessments are on a 20-year payback. I think we have about 500 customers left for the sewer assessments. I think when I came here in 2019, I think we had close to 900. So we've seen an uptick in people wanting to pay off those last few years, accelerate the payment of those assessments and get done with those. And then for moving on to the state and federal taxes, again, here we just break them out individually, just a little more in a little more detail. You'll see the state aid to education, the last line. We saw a decrease in that of 3.45. But we do have a estimated increase in the proposed budget of about $320,000. Mainly that is associated with our school housing aid attributed to the $2.4 million that I just issued in school bonds, because that falls under our capital program of our approval with RIDE. We're only reimbursed on the principal amount of the remaining proceeds. So that 2.3 is only eligible for reimbursement and not the interest expense on those bonds. License and fees, again, small uptick in licenses and fees. Interest, investment income, the increase in the investment income line item is strictly attributed to the projected income that I anticipate the bonds for the $76 million that we took out last year for the school bonds. Basically, that's generated by cash held in investment by U.S. Bank, and it's driven by the cash flow statements that we receive from our project managers. So if we see any kind of delays in the project, then obviously U.S. Bank will be holding on to our monies a little bit longer. We'll be requesting reimbursements less and less, and so there's more money there in the fund to invest. So potentially we could see a little bit of an increase in that throughout the year based on our construction schedule on that project.
Sorry, can you just clarify? I'm sorry, I realize, but so we adopted 506,000, and then the projected amount is 371, but next year you have a higher amount. Could you just explain it a little bit slower for me?
Sure. So this is all the funds. This is mainly the funds that we have invested with U.S. Bank.
Okay.
So Rybeck issues the bonds. We're the borrower from Rybeck. So we didn't get, I am not holding on to $76 million in those bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Those are issued by Rybeck. We're the borrowers. So based on our cash flow, based on construction, based on our needs for reimbursement, we pay the bills up front, then we request reimbursement.
Mm-hmm.
So as the bills come in, we pay them, and then we go back to Rybeck to request reimbursement. So based on the acceleration of that project, that determines how much money is held by U.S. Bank, thus earning investment income.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, thank you.
Sure. So moving on to departmental revenues, again, our department heads are currently working on their fee schedule. I have projected a slight increase in the estimated proposed budget of about $67,000. Moving on to miscellaneous revenues. I think the largest increase in that is generated by the school department in their tuitions, what they are anticipating an increase in other districts. The final revenue category is our unassigned fund balance. And again, that is up from the prior year or the current year, the adopted budget, $247,000. And the increase in that is generated from the debt service. So as far as the debt service fund, I am recommending an unassigned fund balance appropriation of $581,000 in comparison to $335,000 in the current year. Moving on to the expenditure overview. Again, this is just an overview of the increase in the expenditure budget. The increases from the departmental requests were 8.67%. In the town manager's proposed budget that you're currently looking at is an increase of 4%. So we've reduced the request by 4.5%, 4.6%. And the next page is all the other funds that are adopted. So the debt service fund, the wastewater fund, the school department, and the library services. There's an overall increase of 6.85%. And the next page is just a comparison of our full-time employees, full-time equivalents. Mainly the change in this is the general fund saw a decrease of 0.5%, and that was basically a reduction of a part-time employee in the Public Works Department. And there was an increase of 1.5% in the wastewater division. Next page is a summary of our pay-as-you-go capital improvement plan. As you know, we do a 6-year capital improvement plan. And the first year, the capital improvement plan is what gets budgeted in our current operating budget. The request for the departmental request in the current year was $1.9 million. The town manager's budget has reduced that to $1.1 million. And here you'll see an analysis of what was requested and what is currently being proposed. And then our final page, which is our fund page. I don't know, Andy, you want to talk about this page, or you want me to handle debt service?
We can both handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, Trish put together a breakdown from 23, 24, 25, and 6, 23 to 25 are the actuals for those years. And I think, at that point, you're getting into, FY23, you had bond authorization, you had no issuance. 24, you started to issue. You started to see in 26 the impact in the escalation from the net tax support of 3.8 to almost 4.3. The $6,050,000 is a number you're probably familiar with. That shows up in the budget document several times, and I think that's the escalation that we're talking about. That's moving us from 4% to 6.88%. It's 4.2, almost 4.3, up to or just over $6 million.
That's good.
It breaks it down by principal and interest from top down in that proposed FY27 column. It gives you the municipal tax support for municipal program. Then it adds the school debt of principal and interest, which is significant at $7.8 million in that FY27 proposed column. And then you break down in terms of the revenues that are available. You've got the bond subsidy, which we've talked about over the past several years in terms of explaining what that is. That's a recovery of about $556,000. You've got school housing aid, as Trish noted, at about $1.5 million. Then you've got the investment income at $575,000 for a total of $5 million. And then you're able to back that out of the overall total, which leaves us on a net tax support impact of just over $6 million. And, and I understand we're focused on FY27 this year, but, we can't tackle these issues in a vacuum. I think it's important to not to belabor it, but you got to look at the next column, which is FY28, which is a significant column that we've been talking about for about 3 years now. So we go from 4.2 million to 6 million, and we're going to go from 6 million to almost 11 million in FY28. So the only way we make up the differences there are we make them up in that year with, we're talking this year about moving from 6.88 to 6.5 or 6.25 or 6. The percentage is going to be significantly higher for that year. So either you're reducing expenditures or you are doing what you can in terms of growth in the unassigned fund balance, which Trish reflects here at just under $1 million. So really that's not 10.8 million, really it's 11.8 million. So the strategic development of that particular fund, although some would say it's really irrelevant because the numbers are so large, is actually very significant in terms of lowering the overall number regarding tax impact. So, we'll do what we can as we finish off this year, as we finish off next year in terms of increasing the size of that fund. I mean, Trish does a hell of a job in terms of future projections, and I trust Trish's projections down to a very small window. So it's unlikely that that's going to happen unless we're able to really develop the funds either with pulling back on expenditures or generating additional revenues far beyond what we're generating today to be able to support that number. So really, these are the 2 years that we had been talking about. So this slide's critically important. I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to be looking at this slide over the next month, but the escalation from 6 to 10. And then after that FY28, FY29, we finally, amongst substantial completion of the project, finally get to see the reimbursement from the state. So that number will plateau, and then will slowly start to decline over time. But that's a reestablishing the base of what that debt obligation cost is going to be. And so the next 2 years are going to be the years that we really have to get creative and be prepared as to how we're going to fund those numbers and how we're going to get them as low as we possibly can, because the tax impact will be significant. Trish, anything you want to add to that gloom and doom scenario I just laid out?
No, I think you got it.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, this was mentioned even before the bond was passed, that there was going to be a couple years where it would be particularly onerous on the residents, and then after that we would start to see a decrease. And so I don't believe that this was a surprise, or it's unfortunate that that we're here now, but it is not. This was something that this was part of the bond discussions overall.
Yeah, part of the impact, Renew, is the fact that we're a small town.
Yeah.
So you're borrowing $150 million. So that is a significant amount. And if it was 120, it would still be significant. If it was 100, it would still be significant in terms of the size of community that we are. So there's only so many properties that you can tax, right? There's only so much when we talk about revenue enhancements. It's reasonable enhancements. It's not going to be millions of dollars, probably be hundreds of thousands of dollars that can help a little bit in the coming years, but the reestablishment of this debt obligation, and I think Trish has explained it a bunch of meetings, doesn't cap the amount of debt that we can borrow. And if we're well within our limits and we have capacity to borrow more, but we think at this point, when it comes down to affordability, we're probably at our max, and we really need to slow down in terms of other obligations. And that's the reason why we support our department directors and the departments in terms of the alternate revenues that they bring in, which is significant. The millions upon millions of dollars that the departments have secured in terms of grant support has funded many of the initiatives that the community sees as they drive around town. It's not all funded with their own tax dollars, much of it because we wouldn't been able to have done it if it wasn't for the good work of the department in terms of their aggressive approach to just looking at, minimum local matches. And very similar would be a couple of the quick ones. Andy Wade's work at 1.6 million. It's here in this building with the addition. It's all it's passed through from the federal government. It's 1.6 million, no local tax dollars. The $1 million from Congress Magazine around the waterfront work at Scalloptown Park, no local tax dollars. And there are many other examples. A lot of the work the fire department does with the federal grants that they secure for equipment, you know, they're hundreds of thousands of dollars each, and that adds up over time. And really, most of them don't require a local match. So that's on top of this. So really, it's not all those projects that are really driving the cost impact. Just when it comes to the school project, you know, it is what it is, and it really comes down to just deferred investment. You know, so I think there are some in the community who wish they look at these numbers and they're daunting, right, in terms of their ability to pay, and they want to just pull back, and then you fall into that same trap of deferring. And 5 or 10 years from now, it only costs you that much more. And so it's really a steady plan over time. Typically makes it affordable and allows you to do good things in your community without seeing this type of tax impact spike.
Right.
We just happen to be at that point with this large scale project.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think there's a lot of deferred maintenance and deferred everything on the school. So, you know, a lot of those buildings are 50, 60, 70 years old, or 100 in some cases. So.
You know, I was looking over my notes from previous years about the schools and stuff. So in 2023, when we were discussing this, Trish gave us big papers, right? And we discussed the fiscal impact of, you know, how much it would cost and how much it would cost per house. We talked about that. There was so while there's nobody here and nobody online, that we did say that there was very little opposition. The schools were voted on by 70%, you know, significant number of people. And I think, you know, the opposing party didn't even, as I recall, say anything negative about the us doing schools. And I think, you know, it was time. We were getting significant money back. We're not getting it back right away as we would like it. But I think, you know, like with everything, if you want something, you need to pay for it eventually. And we've had deferred maintenance. The schools definitely needed help. So I think I think it's also unfortunate that it comes at a time when gas prices are ridiculous, and I don't see that coming down. So there are people that are suffering now. So I understand that, but we do have to pay for this eventually. So I hope that God bless you. I hope the public understands that.
Well, if there are no additional questions, we're going to move on to tab 4, which that concludes tab 3, and clearly we'll be coming back to a lot of those numbers and a lot of those sections at future meetings. So tab 4 includes a number of departments, town manager's office, including the town council, and basically the full HR complement. It also includes the town clerk's office that involves the board of canvassers, municipal court, and probate court, and also legal services. Once we conclude that, we'll move on to tab 5, which includes a number of other departments. So I'm going to start off in terms of tab 4, just very briefly. We're looking at a 1.7% increase in overall budget for this year, fairly negligible. Town manager's office, as most people understand, provides general administrative management and policy direction and oversight. It provides direct support and counsel to the town council, works on municipal policy programs, directs the staff support to the council and the various boards and commissions, responsible for administration management of all municipal government operations, overseeing the personnel program, manages employees and labor relations, including contract negotiations, implementation, and grievance processes, conducts short and long-term financial planning, and a number of other bullets of the overall scope of what the manager's office supports that are included in the larger document. The other key component, as you look at the slide, you'd say 7 staff. Well, it's a pretty large department. Just so everybody knows, 5 of them are the town council members. So, and I'm not sure I really oversee them, but I support them the best that I can. The 2 employees are myself and Rose Emilio, our administrative services manager. Rose does a complement of things from that particular position, supporting all town operations through the HR management. It's a fairly robust program. It's not just benefits that she actually manages. It's really the whole entire recruitment process. It's labor relations, it's policy development, it's workers' comp training and employee life cycle management of all full-time, part-time, and seasonal employees, and much more than that. Rose, in that capacity, provides additional support in terms of confidential labor support, which is something that you might normally see from maybe a confidential executive assistant, office manager, a lot of times that emanate from the manager's office. In this community, I think it was a number of years ago that there was a merged position, or prior to my self being hired, our town clerk, Lee Carney, her position was expanded for a period of time with that of the executive assistant in the manager's office. And I think Lee and I have talked about this several times, and I think it's humanly impossible for anybody to kind of be 2 directors at the same time and really manage a department in the clerk's office that is a robust, incredibly active department. That was one of those departments that was downsized during COVID. It used to be a 5-member department. Now it's 4 members. So we had that conversation, and we thought it was critically important that that be the priority. So my office today goes forward with just myself. Rose has an independent office who manages HR and a full complement of services to the town, as well as budget development, is actively involved in the development of this particular department. And when the time is right, at some point in the future, we probably will revisit that issue. But I think right now it's really not the right time. We've got a number of other departments that really needed critical support. So the manager's office will stay the size that it is at this time, and we'll revisit that at the appropriate time. In terms of the overall budget itself, you're able to see from the next slide that on wages, it's 2.9% recommended. Overall subtotal on overall benefits is a reduction of 3.6%. On services that include the town celebrations, which is our parades, is where it's funded in the manager's budget. Furniture and fixtures and office materials and supplies is a modest 3.6% increase. And then commodities includes a number of different things that you normally wouldn't think of as commodities. It's just how the budget is structured in terms of continuing education, travel expenses for conferences and professional development opportunities, functions and meetings conducted by the town, membership dues, and the inauguration for candidates during an election year that are elected to office. So that increases by 14.8%, but that's a modest 24,300 to 27,900. If it was $1 million line item, it would actually amount to something. So in this case, it's only a few $1,000s. So overall recommendation is from where we are today on the adopted FY26 budget of 585,000 is for an increase in 27 to 595,000, or approximately $10,000. Hold on one second. So we have legal services next. Yep, as that legal? Yep. Legal. I'll cover this quickly before we turn things over to you. So legal services provides the full complement of legal support the town receives from our solicitor's office. Ursillo, Tights, and Rich. They provide the council, the manager, and all municipal boards and departments with legal services, advice, and representation. They provide general municipal legal counsel. We do have an agreement that supports the base services as provided. That's also board support on planning and zoning. And then there are additional legal costs that vary significantly from year to year based on the legal involvements of the town in terms of the town's defense and litigation and an abundance of different issues. At times, state assembly representation. At times, labor and employment law support, as well as code and drafting amendments, liability insurance claims, and long-range planning. In this particular area, our professional services line is to be reduced by 1.8%. That more than covers the base legal services. It really is just a hedge against a projection on the extent of the full extent of the other legal services that we may require in a given year. So in FY26, we have a budget of 275,000, and the recommendation is for a budget of 270,000, or a slight reduction of 1.8% on legal services, which should not affect our solicitor in any way at all, I'm sure.
Cutting our solicitors budget.
Just stop getting sued, that's all.
Well, we're doing our best, Andy. The next, under tab 4, I'm going to turn things over to Lee Carney, our town clerk. Lee.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so the department is running very well. I would say we are a lean, mean clerk machine. We are 4 strong and running seven different divisions, as noted on the slide. I'm pretty sure everybody is aware of what we do. We're constantly trying to improve services to our residents and our customers to make things easier and faster and get people in and out as quickly as possible. Of course, not taking away from all the personal services that we do offer in our office. So you'll see it's a little bit covered at the top, but we have a 1.6% increase, very minor. I can go over the changes pretty quickly. On the next slide, you will see, other than the wages and benefits down in services, the biggest thing is the change in codification of ordinances. As I explained last year, every 10 years, we have to perform a full editorial analysis of the code, which means that all of the supplements that we've done over a 10-year period of time, our vendor general code takes a look at it, takes a good look at it, takes several months, and they come back and make some suggestions and on anything that needs to be changed. And that is a project that is handled by the town manager and the solicitor. I'm in the process of doing that now. That was actually one of my goals for last year. So that reduces that line drastically. Other than that, small reductions in advertising and professional services is really just based on trending. And we also have a very small increase in office materials and supplies. That shows your 1.6 at the bottom. The next page is Board of Canvassers, and that large increase is due to running 2 elections in the next fiscal year. We have the primary, which is on September 9th. And I will note that is actually on a Wednesday. The General Assembly passed new legislation to move that, thankfully, from the Tuesday after Labor Day to the Wednesday. And then you're also looking at your general election on the first Tuesday in November. So that's what's driving that large increase there. As far as probate and municipal court, they are staying as they are. There's no significant increases there. Other than that, we're working away at our goals. Last year, as I mentioned, my goals were to codify the town ordinances. That is in the process right now. I am also working on new software to modernize the boards and commissions program, which I would have hoped to have rolled that out a little bit sooner, but things come and go and I have to push some things aside. So you can expect to see that, I would say, in the next couple months. I did roll out the property alert service module a few weeks ago, which allows our residents to register and sign up to receive email alerts when anything is in land evidence is recorded in our office under those specific names. As we all know, that has become quite a hot topic lately, is deed fraud. It is a real thing. I've received inquiries for years in my office about when we were going to have something like this, so I was very proud to have that rolled out, and it's been very well received, and I think a lot of people have signed up for that. Also continuing to work with the police department to get this parking ticket transition from a manual process over to a fully automated process. It's going well, but at this point, I think my department has taken it as far as we can. So the completion of that will be dependent upon the police department and the IT department just kind of putting the final touches on rolling that out. And of course, the fee schedule, which we're all talking about this evening. I will basically be obviously looking through my department, but kind of facilitating that forward for all of the departments, putting together an ordinance to hopefully have introduced over the summer so we can start looking at increasing some of our revenues. Other than that, everything is going very well. I have the same 3 employees. We're a very strong, good team. We're very happy to work here, and we get a lot of compliments. That's what I'll say.
I want to thank Lee for just the examples, Lee, because I think that was a great breakdown of a department that went through a period of transition a number of years ago and has come out with like a really well-oiled machine that's now utilizing technology to be able to much better operate efficiently, but also in better serving the public. And I think Lee really provided a great number of examples there of the types of things that I think not only in the town clerk's office, but a number of other departments are doing as well. So thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Okay.
Eat.
Just getting caught up. So moving on to tab 5 and the finance department. Trish. Already. Yes, you're up.
Well, first I only have 7 employees, Rose, so we'll have to fix that. So the finance department is made up of myself, the finance director. I have a finance manager who maintains our cash. And she basically is my eyes and ears on what's going on in fund accounting. And we have a deputy tax collector. My deputy tax collector is funded partially 35% from the wastewater fund. She does the collections for sewer use, sewer assessment. She is running their billing, and she's also maintaining their delinquency customers. So her salary and benefits and my salary and benefits are funded partially from the wastewater fund. I have a payroll administrator, my tax assessor, the assessor's clerk, and I have an APAI specialist who is a consolidated position. We run both school and town accounts payables. Moving on to goals and objectives. I just highlighted one that I need to do better on because we're not perfect, and that's publish my quarterly financial report to the town website. We are currently working on with Rose's assistant. I think you'll see some great enhancements in the current proposed town manager's budget as well as this particular presentation. We're working on submitting the proposed budget to the GFOA to earn the Distinguished Budget Award, just reviewing the criteria. I think we're about 90% there. And as a supplement, we're going to submit the presentation as well. So we're hoping to get that award for the town manager and the council. I think we're there. We just need to work on some goals and objectives and linking them to the council's overall goals and objectives. One of the achievements that we are trying to be successful at in finance is encouraging our residents to use our online portal for submission. And we're also rolling out functionality where they can sign up to receive electronic their tax bills. And with that, they'll be able to receive some delinquency notices. So reducing foot traffic has been unbelievable in town hall. We've seen such an uptick in our online payments, which actually also obviously helps our collection rate. So we've been able to achieve greater than what we've budgeted. We're also looking to, I've had this in my budget for a couple of years and just time gets by me. I need to put together a formal investment policy. Right now, we can only invest under the state law, so we are prohibited from investing long-term. But with a formal investment policy, we'll be able to do that, and that will help us earn some additional investment returns. We're doing some great work over in assessment. We're currently, next budget, I think we'll be awarding our statistical reval. So we'll be working on the statistical this calendar year. But I think the council will see that our abatements have pretty much gone down. So that just means we're getting better and better in our accuracy in assessments overall. So, okay, moving on to the proposed budget. The finance department's proposed budget is up 6.4%. Mainly the overall increase is due to an increase in healthcare. So in the adopted budget, I currently have an employee who is receiving a buyback on the insurance, but that employee will now be on our family healthcare. So that's the biggest driver here in the finance department budget. And we see some reductions in our commodities. And some of that has to do with our online communications and our efficiencies in trying to deliver more services electronically and just being more efficient. So we do see some increases in some savings in the paper, postage, and overall, just although we can't put a dollar value to the time that it's going to save us with our electronic communications, but there is a dollar value there, and then we can focus more on our goals and objectives overall. Other than that, that is basically sums up the finance department's budget.
Thank you.
Great. Any questions?
Trish, are we charging people to use a credit card?
I mean, we don't.
They have to pay.
We don't. The consumer pays
Does?
a credit card fee. It's a 2.95%. But if they use a check, online check fee, it's $1.95.
Oh,
So yeah.
okay. And what is tax book? What is that?
we get new books every so often. Once the laws change, we will get new tax books in assessment.
Okay.
Great. If we have no other questions, we've got Tim Wheeler, our IT director, coming to the mic. Tim. Okay.
We don't trust those.
He's very territorial, as you can see.
Not really. So basically, you'll see a little bit of an increase. What was it? Oh. Here we are. Okay. Here we are. Okay. So overall, basically technology takes care of everything have to do with software for all the departments. Everything goes through my department. So any of the purchasing, any of the upgrades, any of the things that we have done over the many years, the condition of our IT infrastructure is very good. So the overall process is that we've done a lot of work. You guys have supported us greatly. We have gotten Wi-Fi, we have our switches, we have our whole infrastructure in very good shape. The upgrade to Windows 11, we took advantage of the free upgrade when that happened. I think we're down to 2 computers left on Windows 10. That is no longer supported. So there's 2 smaller computers that we need to get those upgraded with. The Office 365, we moved to a kind of I'll call it a budget version of the Office 365, where we have our email server still on premises, but we're able to use some of the newer technology. We're starting to roll that out now for the people. We constantly try to find new ways to save money. As far as we're looking at consortium buying, we have saved probably well in the tens of thousands of dollars by looking at kind of going through the state and find out who they're using for certain softwares like our antivirus software. So we're always kind of looking at those type of things as saying, hey, this is what we're paying now. Can I get it cheaper? So we're always looking at those items. Our computers across the board are in very good shape. We're able to, with a new technology, take care of obviously police and fire. That was a huge undertaking. We're constantly kind of supporting them. So now that they're kind of rock solid with the information, us doing a lot of that work and having the radio systems and building the last of the infrastructure, we're about 90% done with that project. We just need to now add in some of the notification systems. But both have now returned both to the new to their new dispatch centers. And we're just kind of finishing up a little bit of odds and ends there. But for the most part, that went very, very well. Hardly any downtime on each side. We've learned a lot of things along the way. We've upgraded a lot of things along the way. We hit few bumps here and there, but we, for the most part, discovered lots of things. But we're in much better shape than whatever we were. The increase in the wages. So right now we're looking at restructuring of my department. There's still going to be 2 people. We're just looking for a network manager that'll help me. Those are necessary for the things that the state is asking me for. Basically, I need to kind of upgrade the person that works with me to work so they can do some of the items that are necessary for us to be compliant throughout the state and what they're asking of us. A lot of my time lately had gotten taken off onto the new projects. I'll be able to now return and get some of those other things, some of my projects done. We were able to stay ahead of, what was that?
Does the state reimburse for requirements like that, or is it like unfunded?
Yeah, no, they give us breaks if we can find some of the software and things like that, but that's as far as they'll go.
Okay.
And we're still waiting on some grants that we've applied for. So we're hoping to kind of get there. Some of the newer projects that we're working on, obviously, is our phone system. We're going toward the end of our 6th year with our phone system. It just started before I got here. The next phase is probably bringing them up to the cloud because it'd actually be cheaper than us harnessing our own hardware sitting in our locations. So we're looking at that going that. We're also looking at new firewalls that are necessary. We have one existing firewall now, and those are going to be upgraded in probably the next few months. I'm also looking at going through our internet provider, which is Ocean, for the firewalls, because there might be a significant savings of just leasing these through them, not having to hand the hardware. It could be a significant amount of money savings. So we're looking at different options there. Obviously, I've taken under the safety coordinator, Colby Anderson, has come under me, and that has really driven. That also helps the fire and the police department for support. Some of the items that we've given out for him to the, such as boat blockades, cones, things like that, that some of the departments didn't have all of. We were able to manage all that, as well as kind of take care of the EMA system, which worked very well, obviously, throughout the storms. So for the most part, all of that is good. We're in good shape with the software we have for any of the attacks that come upon us. So we use CrowdStrike, one of the stronger ones that are out there. So we stayed ahead of the game. So between us upgrading all of our tools and putting our new stuff on a new virtual server software a few years ago, we've stayed quite ahead of the game. So we found out that if you're kind of trying to save a dime here today, you're going to end up paying so much more before. Some of the systems like we had on this new 911 system, we're trying to stay ahead of it, save money every year, put money aside for that. So we're not going to find these $1 million, windfalls of money that's necessary to do the things we need to do. So as far as the budget itself goes, get to that page. So you'll see down on like some system engineering, it's a minus 26%. We're expecting that the new network manager will be able to take on some of that information where I don't have to kind of sub out some of the engineering portions of that. Software maintenance is our biggest number. And once again, it's because we supply all the software for all the departments. And on average, most of these softwares increase anywhere from 10 to 15% every year. So it's across the board. Tariffs have hurt us a little bit as far as some of the technology parts, but we were actually ahead of the game with this before the tariffs hit. So we're in actually pretty good shape. I'll give you an example. An average hard drive would cost me $69. That same hard drive now is costing $199. So some of these things you have to kind of be careful of, but once again, we're in good shape. We've been buying and using computers, so that it's been going well for us. Another key is the website. So we're putting more and more things on our website, trying to have each department eventually have their own websites within our website so they can actually put out that information as necessary. Obviously, we changed over to .gov. So we're using both .com and .gov for a few years. So that was another major accomplishment of getting those things taken care of. We do have a vehicle, so the gasoline went up a little bit and some of the supplies for auto, but we do have we have now the EMA truck and we do have one truck for the department for ourselves. So you guys have any questions for me?
Nope.
Tim, do you just want to briefly mention the restructuring going into the next year? I'm assuming that's the driver behind the wage increase.
It is the driver, yeah. Once again, having the state putting a lot of things like we have to have certain criteria. We basically have to adhere to all the things that the state is forcing us to do, which is a lot of work. We're constantly having to be compatible, make sure our things are upgraded, all of our reports are done, making sure that we're basically pushing forward and reaching those goals that the state has set for us. So therefore, that's why a network manager more than a help desk person was necessary. So that's why that's since the upgrade, it's been something coming. And as retirements happening and taking on, a lot of our software now is based out into the cloud, and we have to take care of a lot of those issues. So,
And you were outsourcing some of those services, right?
yeah,
Previously.
that's why there's a somewhat of a savings within the engineering department. So we expect it to kind of level off where this person's going to be able to do some of the things that we had to outsource before because there just wasn't enough time in the day to do everything. I mean, we run a small department of 2 people. And that's taking care of all the police, fire, and we're on call 24/7.
And I know you played a big role in the dispatch. And I know, I don't think you sing your praises enough because when I spoke to you at the luncheon, you were telling me about cost savings from equipment and cost savings from furniture. And, we appreciate that.
Yeah, we built a lot of ourselves. We were able to find things that would have cost us astronomically more. We built the desks ourselves. We hung the things ourselves. We had our departments all the departments work with us really well. So we're able to kind of understand what we needed, able to save. I mean, honestly, in my eyes, I think we saved almost $2 million that we would have had if we had to go out and outsource everything. And it also gave us better understanding of everything that we touched and did. And everything that we mainly did is replaceable. So if something did break, we could replace it without having astronomical costs.
And I guess the fact that dispatch was ready before the storm was really critical.
Yeah,
right?
and going forward, and they get to use it. The beauty of even creating that EMA like location, every day the police get to use that for a roll call room. So it's not just a once in 2 or 3 times a year for a problem. They get to use it every day. They get to use that technology. So those type of things are really important to them. And getting, having clear radio signals, having a good backup system. It also works. So people tend to forget we also put all the radios in the Public Works Department. So there's 3 departments that were greatly affected by our upgrade and doing things that we're doing.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks. Appreciate that, Tim. Next, we have Al Rinaldi, our planning director.
Hello. So I'm happy to report that my budget for this year is down a mere modestly 2%. And that was there's one of the drivers of it being reduced is to adjust from the professional services for a gap that we had in the comprehensive planning expense that we incurred. My budget is pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to really get into the details unless someone wants to. But I want to talk about the accomplishments of the department. One thing that I'm very proud of is, and I hope I'm not jinxing my department. I know that there's 2 people that would probably not be very fond if I am jinxing. We have collected all of the boxes, storage boxes that were scattered throughout the entire town of planning material. We have collected it all. And Lee, I hope I don't hear from you on another run of we found another box. But we found all of our boxes. We brought them back, and I invite anyone to come up to our storage area, and it is as neat as a pin, organized with a list of which box has what.
Where were all these boxes located?
They were in DPW, they were in the clerk's office. I think the clerks were fooling with us a couple of times, but they're scattered throughout. As you may recall, the planning department was in the basement of the town hall. Then was moved to where we are now. So that was scattered all around. But another thing that I am proud of is we have expanded the planning department to include additional employee, a resiliency planner, and I'll introduce you to Jessica in a minute. But I do want to focus on our goals and objectives. A lot of them are a continuance. We have the comprehensive plan update, which is expanding on our work done in phase 1. Everybody, please tell all your friends and family that we have our first public engagement workshop on May 18th, next Monday at 6 o'clock in this very room. It's going to kick off the entire visioning of what people would like to see East Greenwich look like in 20 years from now. We are also working with DPW on the Main Street revitalization. The planning department's role is with the streetscaping, and that's with a grant from the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. We have to finish the parking study that was put on hold for a second to concentrate on the comprehensive plan. But soon we will be hearing about our parking study and finalizing it and implementing it. Next is, this was a state mandate that all of our planning documents be filed electronically. So John Studley, the town planner, took it upon himself to learn how to develop and program the OpenGov to accommodate a planning department's needs. So in addition to planning, we have zoning electronically, and now we also have the Historic District Commission electronically filed. What that means to our residents is everything, absolutely everything, is time-stamped. So you submit an application, it's time-stamped in. We have per law a certain number of days to certify that it's complete, and so on. That's very important in these days, and it has been. We've had it's been not as robust as planning, I mean, the building department, but there has been applications and it's been working out very, very well. Our document management system, as I explained, is excellent. And I, again, encourage anyone to come and look at our storage area. We also have been working on our planning development and subdivision regulations that have been adjusted by the state of Rhode Island several years in a row. We are now at a point where we are having a consultant come and review them and making sure that everything is consistent. And if any changes need to be made, we'll be in front of the board to make those changes. But we're really trying to streamline it, but also comply with the state law. Our GIS database is moving along very successfully and helps a lot of our residents with online resources to look at properties and so on. And it also helps me and my staff people call up and they say, oh, what's going on here? We can bring it right up on our computer and address and answer any questions that the residents may have. The next thing I said before was about something that I was proud of, and that's our resiliency program. Resiliency is, it's a complex subject, but I can boil it down to when the streets flood, how can we repair that? How can we fix that? So I would like to introduce Jessica Henry. She's the resiliency planner for our resiliency program. Jess has 15 years in the resiliency field, both in public and private sectors. And she was kind enough to sit through this entire meeting.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Hopefully it's not too loud and annoying. I will add one note to what Al was saying. Not only do we want to really know what to do when those roads floods, but the idea is to know where that flooding is happening and potentially take action to mitigate before they are. So we don't have the access issues, we don't have the emergencies, and the public potentially calling in saying they can't get out of their driveway. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm going on week number 4 and kind of working my way through the variety of materials that the town has already put together. There's a lot of data out there. My position so far has really been helping gather that and bring it all together, having a comprehensive view of where we are now, and then looking to all of you, as well as the planning department and the DPW team, as well as others around town, of where you want to go. And so that's my job, is to really help you figure out kind of what comes next. We're working on identifying various grants, whether they be at the state or federal level, and doing our best to minimize those, local cost shares. Some are inevitable, but doing our best to be as creative as we can. So I won't take up too much of your time. Happy to answer any questions today, any other time, but looking forward to working with all of you.
Don't go. Don't go. Okay, I'm going to give you a scenario that I've been trying to solve for, I don't know, 5 years plus. Okay, Division Street, which I know is a state road. Every time it rains, at a house number 255 Division, it floods. It's dangerous. In the wintertime, it ices over. I've called DOT. I've sent, spoken on the radio to the former director. Zero help.
Well, let's talk tomorrow then. So I will take a look at that handy dandy GIS program that we have, familiarize myself with that area. It could be something as a drainage problem. It could be maybe outside of our hands, but I'm more than happy to dig in and see if I can.
It is out of our hands, but they're not fixing it.
Well,
The state isn't fixing it.
Right.
So then what happens?
Well, it's up for us to figure out.
Okay, that's why you're making the big money there.
Jessica, I think that's Karen's no-win scenario, right? Yeah, that example. So if you can accomplish that, it is just,
Sound?
pretty much.
Well, I'm happy to help kind of figure out maybe those that haven't been on the docket for 5 years, but more than happy to take a stab at anything. Any other questions? Anything else I can?
There's
provide
another one on Division as well, where they paved over a stream and it freezes, and in the winter it freezes right down. So yeah, if you're working on that, I'll definitely hit you up.
Yeah. No, this is part of the process, right? I need to know where those problem areas are. I can look at maps all day long. I can read in various plans, but really information will come from those that are feeling it, every day or. when it's significant.
I have some thoughts, so
Yeah.
I'll meet with you.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Good. Thank you
Nice
for
to
coming.
meet you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So that's it for my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
But I just would like to say to both you and to Tim, the GIS, which actually is a great tool. I like it a lot, especially when I'm curious about somebody and what they're doing. So thank you for the work on that.
Thank you, Al.
We're good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Andy Wade, Community Services.
Good evening, everybody. It's on. The Community Services and Parks Department, is kind of a unique department in town. All my fellow department directors and all the departments in town each play a critical role and a crucial role in the operation of overall local government, and some with different maybe public perceptions than others. But at its core, Community Services and Parks Department's mission is to provide opportunities to improve the quality of life for the residents of East Greenwich. And I like to think that we're comprised of a dedicated group of staff of people that achieve that mission through providing safe, well-maintained parks and public spaces, a diverse set of programs that reach and touch individuals of all ages throughout town. We're down on the waterfront through our harbor management, through our harbor master. We're here at the Swift Community Center with our senior citizens. We're here after hours with youth and other programs at our recreation office for preschool, school-age children, teenagers, and the like. And ultimately, programs and services we provide are there to help build and strengthen our community as a whole. And I think it's really impactful work that we're able to accomplish with that. And Al's talking about accomplishments with his department. I have to brag a little bit about ours for this year. We were named the Distinguished Department of the Year by the Rhode Island Recreation and Parks Association. And, that's an award that I think every member, from part-time, one-day a week staff, program staff, instructors, to our full complement of managers and program administrators, that it's their award from the hard work that they've put in over the course of the past year, as well as some of the highlights of improvements to our local parks and facilities that we've been able to accomplish during that period. And so I'm very proud of the work that we've done for that. And I think it's important that you all are aware of their efforts and kind of notoriety that East Greenwich is getting on a statewide level because of the programs and services that we're able to provide. Budgetarily this year, there's not a large increase across tax-funded obligations. Most of it, 82% of our budget is personnel related, and a lot of those are contractual increases. We tried to have some savings by carefully monitoring over the last few years some of our commodity expenses and where they're coming out of. And I think if you look at, I noted the amount of programs and services that we're able to offer the public. If you look into the recreation budget itself, tax funded $7,000 of a $1.98 million budget goes directly to programs. So you might ask, well, geez, how can you offer the over 300 programs that we're able to offer annually through recreation alone? Add in senior services, we're doubling that number. But through recreation, what we're able to do is operate from program revenues. And the program revenues that we're able to generate enable us to put that back into additional programs, to buy programs and equipment. It allows my program staff to take big swings and offer programs like Rachel Arbridge has been doing over this past year. Maybe you've heard of Mahjong now, and you may not have heard Mahjong before. And Mahjong itself was historically a program that was offered for a small group of individuals here at Swift as part of the Senior Center program for many years. Something's happened. Andy alluded earlier to how departmentally and as a town we function and shift and change to different things that are happening out in the world. And recreation isn't alone in that. And there's been a push for Mahjong, and there's been an interest in how do we learn how to play. We've had 2 events here at the Swift Community Center in the last 3 months that have served over 250 individuals, which is just, it's an amazing, and they talk about community and people coming together for things. We're being creative in the events that we're offering, and we're seeing people come in from Block Island. They came in from Block Island to take, a couple people took the ferry over that morning to take part in that Mahjong event. And so, our East Greenwich community and the programs that we offer we're able to take advantage of a void that is regional in terms of programs and services that aren't being offered in our neighboring communities. And it's important to recognize that with that, we're able to generate program dollars because we can take advantage of outsiders coming in while still serving at its core our residents. Some key demographic and statistical data that we try to inform ourselves on as we go and make our decisions on how we program services. The National Recreation and Parks Association offers to communities like ours that take advantage of a special agency membership with the association tools like a facility market report. And this past year, I learned about this facility market report at, I was able to attend director school in Cincinnati because of Rhode Island Interlocal Trust. Was able to fund my trip for that and cover my tuition for that school. Anyways, long story short, facility market report, we were able to work off of this building, do a 10-minute drive distance scenario. And it can tell you a lot of information about what goes on in terms of patterns of behaviors of individuals that live within a 10-minute drive. And I know that some of that isn't just East Greenwich, because it's a population of about 27,000 people that are within the 10-minute drive of here. But this is largely the population that we're serving. So they use in those reports an SPI, which is, I wrote it down because I always forget those terms, but essentially it's a number relative to the average that nationally people are willing to spend on certain things. And recreational activities and memberships and sporting activities, we're sitting out 143 is the SPI for that, where 100 is the average. So people around here are hungry to spend these dollars to take part in the programs that we want to be able to offer. And I think where I drive that is through these programs that we're able to offer, largely the costs are self-funded. There are times when we're able to make some revenue on top of the program cost covering, but we're putting that directly back in to service to alleviate pressures on our PayGo capital program. The two projects that were largely completed in the last couple of years right out here at Academy with the pickleball courts and revitalization of the basketball court, Eldridge Park, $1.7 million park project. We were able to take advantage of grant opportunities that were able to be awarded through successful grant applications with, in those cases, $400,000 from Department of Environmental Management, $100,000 from the same agency for a smaller grant opportunity. Project costs, when we bid those things out, as we've talked about over and over again after the rise of COVID, is how expensive it is to complete that work. We wouldn't have been able to finish those projects, and we wouldn't be able to finish those projects with such nice finishes to benefit our community without putting the program revenue right back into our capital program. So largely, I think that we're trying to be smart in how we administer our programs. We're constantly trying to push the envelope in terms of how creative the programs we offer, how many programs we offer, the populations that we're reaching. And because of that, I think our residents are benefiting from that. I do want to just make note that recently we received notice from our senior services manager that she will be moving on to take another position elsewhere. And so like Andy had talked about earlier with how it gives us opportunity to look at how we are servicing our residents. This is another one of those points in time where now we can evaluate how our department is functioning. And much like Tim's department, where there's critical needs that are happening, you look at how our services are being deployed. Is there any redundancy? Is there any crossover in populations? And frequently we find the answer to that is yes, in terms of our active older adults in East Greenwich. Because another thing I learned from that facility market report is that we're raising our age here, like increase in those 55 and older. And so it's important to respond to that. And we noticed that our recreation programs throughout the day, Monday to Friday, are so well attended. My office is here at Swift. I also spend some time down at the recreation office on Frenchtown Road. A lot of the same faces are both buildings. A lot of the same faces are signing up for programs in one model and then here over at Swift. So because we have such an active population, I think it's probably appropriate that we're going to target combining our adult recreation and senior services under one umbrella and kind of refocus our energies to put more programmers, boots on the ground, direct service providers to the residents of the town to expand those programs further. And it will well situate ourselves if we have the opportunity to take advantage of Eldredge and one day open that as a multi-service, fully functional community recreation center. So anyways, I talk a lot off script for the budget, but if you have any specific questions about that, I'm happy to dive into that or anything else you'd like to talk about.
I just want to say thank you. I know that the community programs are well attended. I know a few people from other towns who come specifically to East Greenwich to attend those programs, which I find amazing. And I really think you guys do a great job. And I really don't understand the Mahjong thing, I have to admit.
I'll take the class with you. I don't.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I think I like your approach of being nimble and being able to take advantage of opportunities when you see them. And that's a great strength of the department and all the departments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Final department of the evening, Director Bucci. Maria. Of Prevention and Support Services in town.
Last time I was here a year ago, I was just starting. I kind of joined the team in December, late December of 2024. This was all new to me, did not know a soul in East Greenwich. So the first part of my position, which was the second half of fiscal year 25, was what I would call the meet and greet time. Anyone that came across my path, I would take a moment to kind of explain what it is that I do, much like Bob did, but in a different way. And then, from those interactions, they gave me other names and other people to meet. So it was a number of, if I didn't meet 50 people or more one-on-one. And I have to say, this is a great town. Everybody was so supportive and open to the message of prevention, which just made it so much easier for me. Obviously our mission is to educate. So prevention is just education. And, like they say, hopefully when you know better, you do better. And with kids, at different ages, they're invincible. They think, that will never happen to me. My parents smoked pot when they were in college, they were fine, and that whole thing. So it's our job as a department to educate kids on what's different today. The old pot is not the same as the new pot because of the THC content. Educating parents about their brain development, their adolescent brain development, and how they can really cause harm to their children by allowing them to drink under age 21. And having them drink at home doesn't mean, you're watching them just when they drink, because chances are when they drink at home, they drink even more away from home. So there's a lot that needs to be brought forward and made aware, and that's our mission. We've been at the high school, the middle school, Eldredge. We had a program with the little ones at Hannaford and Meadowbrook. I did a program at called Safety Town for last summer's program. youth program, and it was kindergartners and first graders. And we talked appropriately about ways to keep yourself healthy and what you need to do. And I enjoyed it so much. They just said what was on their mind, and just balls of energy, you know. We have a program at the middle school and high school called Lunch and Learn. And so what we do is go there a couple times a month. We set up our table and we have a bunch of goodies and some candy and things like that. There's a spin wheel that they get to spin, and it lands on a topic. So this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. So that has been our topic. So we go, the kids know who we are now, which is great. They'll line up, spin the wheel, and ask them a question. If they get it right or wrong, it really doesn't matter. They get to choose from what we have. But we engage in a conversation with them, you know. So if we ask them, so, you know, what are some signs that maybe a friend of yours is struggling? Like, what would you look for? And then they would answer it. And then we'd go further, you know, and just keep that conversation going. And just try to pull out, see what they know, and help them understand whatever it is that they don't know. So it's a real fun way to get the information across. It's one-on-one, but their friends are there. We have a little bonus square. If they land on the bonus, they get, Chick-fil-A has been wonderful, is giving us gift cards for entrees and things. We got some Amazon gift cards. So they get really excited when they land on one of those sections on the wheel. And it's been a lot of fun, and it's a great way to get the information across that's not threatening and very interactive. Sorry, I'm chewing gum and now my mouth is so dry. Okay. Let's see. So obviously the coalition, our mission is to reduce substance abuse and promote mental health, good mental health, through community engagements, events, and evidence-based programming. In partnerships with schools, the business community, the faith community, school administrators, providers, the medical departments, you know, medical providers, sports in school and out of school sports organizations, and anyone and everyone from all ages. So we do programs for the younger ones, as I mentioned about Safety Town, and we have a program called Action Steps for older people. So it starts off with, you know, ways to keep themselves healthy so they don't fall, things to be aware of. And then we just kind of gently go into prescription safety, how to store your prescriptions safely. So when you have little kids come over, or you have people cleaning your home, or whoever's in your house is away, you know, out of reach, out of touch. And we go over a few other things as far as, you know, drug interactions and things like that. So we're really educating the population from small to seniors. And it's great. Everyone is engaged. People want to share their experiences, which I love, which is really interesting. When we start talking about Narcan and overdose, I've had a few people come up to me. So we've done it at St. Elizabeth's and we've done it at Anchor Bay. And after the program, I've had two separate people come up to me and told me about a story that one of their relatives, a grandchild or a niece, had an addiction issue, and how important it is to get this information out there for parents and for kids before it's too late. So that to me that really fills me up, you know, as far as making a difference, because I don't get a lot of, hey, that was great. Wow, look at the numbers. You know, a lot of it is not quantitative. So when I have that kind of interaction and that kind of feedback, it really makes me feel good. So we have, yes.
Can I ask you something before, regardless of, so how do you coordinate with the schools? You're employed by the town.
Yes.
But you're mentioning that you're going into the schools. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. So how often do they invite you? Do you set up a time, or how does that
So
work?
I've kind of over the time, just gently kind of asked, hey, we're thinking of doing this. Can we give it a try? Sure. You know, they'll ask me a few other questions. And I always let them know it's always age appropriate. There will never be anything said that will be off color, off the wall, or whatever that parents would get concerned about. We've had speakers come in. Deb McMullen, who's one of the PE teachers, coaches, she's been wonderful as far as getting us in front of her health classes. We did an anti-bullying campaign for all the sixth graders. It was very interactive. We had some high schoolers come and talk to the younger kids about bullying and, you know, what it's like when you get to high school, if it's any different. So we like to include the kids telling the other kids about what's going on. It's really just going in and asking, like, here's something we'd like to try. What do you think? And Dr. Page has been wonderful. Ms. Centracchio, I mean, it's been really great.
Who would, if you see, how would you, let's take bullying, for example. On social media over the past week or so, I don't know if you're on social media. Huge problem here, huge. Not being dealt with, in my opinion, okay? Or maybe it is dealt with not correctly. Is that something you're going to try to help with the schools, or the schools are going to do it by them? How do you?
Well, so prevention, everything really falls under the realm of prevention. If you think about it, everything affects mental health, right? And so the way people cope with different situations can lead to substance abuse. So if you kind of peel it back and reverse everything is kind of a portion of prevention, substance abuse prevention. So we hired someone part-time, Caitlin Valier. I don't know if you've all had the chance to meet her. She's great. We put the presentation together on bullying. It was very interactive. We did at the end, we did a Kahoot. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. So at the end, and we had prizes for the top 3 teams. So it was a way to get the information across about bullying. Do you want to be a bystander, or do you want to be an outstander and help, you know? So it's just knowing the programming, I guess, and knowing how to kind of carve it into their curriculum to get the message out. No, it's not going to happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. But like anything, the more they hear it and the more they understand it, chances are their behavior will change. So, and that's our mission, is to make every school, have them feel connected and have pride in that community. So they take care of one another. They're kind to one another. They help each other out. If someone's struggling, talk to that person. If you feel that they need extra help, go talk to an adult, you know?
But you're not involved in policy, school policy.
No, I'm not. But we are going to be talking a little bit about when they have a student that violates either the vaping policy or, you know, smoking. Right now, the high school has their program. And that's something I'm kind of looking into in taking it over. First of all, getting it out of their hands. They have enough to do. I was talking to Tim McCartland, and he's the one that pretty much runs all that at the high school. So how can we, you know, take that over for them, get that off their plate, and make it more interactive for the kids and involve the parents? So when a kid's caught vaping, the parents aren't just aware. There's also like a 45-minute, maybe online program that they have to complete. So they understand the consequences of vaping. And they'll have the tools that will better off support their child who may be trying to quit, who should be trying to quit. The nicotine in those things, it's crazy. And it can easily become an addiction, and has. So trying to let the parents understand that as well. So I've had speakers coming in on vaping. We had speaker come in at the high school about different substances like steroid use, those energy drinks, what's in protein powders and things like that. You know, especially when you're young, you just take everything you just accept whatever you hear as truth. And we know advertising can be very, subjective, and they have their ways of marketing things. So we just try to bring in different programs, different speakers that make them aware of things. So we've had one of our campaigns is to increase our social media presence. And that's one of the things that we brought Caitlin on for. And in order to get students familiar with us and to follow us, we've had a couple promotions. So one was follow us within the first 2 weeks, and you get 2 chances to win a $200 gift card gift basket. Now, we canvassed the community and we went to Twisted Pizza and Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, a lot of different vendors here in town who gave us gift cards. So at the end of the month, we had like 108 followers, from which we picked the winner of the $200 gift basket. We just did a promotion for the prom tickets, which we pulled on Friday, again through Instagram, trying to engage the kids. And not only on our Instagram are we doing different promotions, but we send out every day like a little message about mental health, a little message about substance usage, a message about maybe, how many kids you think, and, what's the percentage of kids that might be struggling, on average, and it's like 40% is the number. So we also try to get information out that way through the social media. I just have so much in my head. I would love to present to you guys all the programs we've done over the last year. Like I said, the first 6 months was just getting to know people and gaining their trust, right? It's a relationship business. And so just gently letting them know what we're here to do, what we want to accomplish. And it's always a collaborative thing. I never push too hard. I'm always open to suggestions. Like I said, I'll talk to anyone about anything. Just ask, so.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Do you have a person on the school side so we budget for you, and do you have a person on the school side that you can coordinate with, that they budget for?
I do that through the superintendent, Dr. Kenworthy, through Dr. Page, and through the principals and the assistant principals. So I'm kind of that person in the schools trying to rally the kids. And they do have other groups as well. We started a peer-to-peer group in October of last year. And it somehow kind of took a turn to a group called No Place for Hate, which is, a lot of things are similar as far as respect and not bullying and positivity and that kind of thing. So we're not the only ones doing it, but one of my goals is to have a club at the middle school and the high school. So when these kids are involved in these clubs, and they're not just learning, they're actually living what they're learning year after year after year. And that hopefully will change behavior in a positive way. Unfortunately, not all kids have the support at home. A lot of kids, their parents are vaping, their parents are doing edibles, and so we try to gently reach those kids and let them know, hey, you're an adult, that's one thing, but your brain is still being developed, it's still being formed. You've got a lot of dreams, a lot of goals. This stuff isn't going to help. It can only get in the way. And it's never punitive. It's always like, we want you to be healthy because we want you to achieve whatever it is you want for your life, right? So these kind of things, alcohol, if you start before the age of 15 or younger, you're 4 times more likely to have an addiction problem with alcohol as an adult. So that's just the way it is. So when we let people know that, hopefully they make better decisions about not going down that path. It's all fun until someone becomes addicted and someone gets on this and it's interfering with their school or their work or their relationships or whatever. So like I said, I'd love to come back and just do a whole presentation because I got a bazillion things that we've done and want to do. So the first thing we did was branding, right? We got our logo together. So at least people, when they saw our logo, they hopefully can, you know, identify it and know, oh, they're around. I've seen this before, and little by little get comfortable with who we are.
I hate to keep interrupting, but when you say people, you're talking about people in the school? You're in the
It's
school?
community.
In the community?
In the community,
Yeah,
anywhere in
okay.
the community. Yep. And it's going to take time, right? So it's consistency, and it's just going to take time and trust for all that to build. I think we've built a great foundation. I haven't heard anything negative. If somebody has, please let me know. I'm always open to criticism to make things better. But everyone's been open to it. And so, you know, a healthier community is a happier community, really. Less crime, less truancy, you know, just an easier place to live and work in. Okay. So all these things that you see, coalition build, oh, we're on the budget page, great. Oh, fast forward. So the 2025, fiscal year 2025 hours obviously was already set when I came on board. And for the 2026, I just kind of guessed at maybe what might be needed, not knowing what was already in place, what was needed. I kind of guesstimated for the different commodities. And I have to say, it wasn't too bad compared to what I did end up spending and what's going to be carrying forward. So advertising, I wasn't sure if there was a budget for that, and there's no need. So Elizabeth's been great as far as, you know, helping us put some things in the news about, you know, Take Back Day or different promotions. So that doesn't cost anything. The Chamber of Commerce has been great. We support them. They support us and the whole business community. So that's been great. So we started off with $500 and we've cut that down to $0 because there really isn't a need. So the travel mileage started at 500 and reduced it to 200. And that was just for local conferences, any traveling that I might have had to do, like on the Northeast. And actually, I haven't even spent a penny of that because everything's been virtual online. So that's been great. The membership dues, I did increase that from 1,200 to 1,400. And that's only because there is an organization called CADCA. So it's Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America. And it's an organization that's based in Washington, D.C. It has 7,000 organizations that are part of it, and it spans 28 countries. And they are a program of the ONDCP, the Office National Drug Control Policy. And so they advocate, like at their conferences in February, they have, you go on Capitol Hill, you get to talk to your senators, your representatives about why prevention is so important. So any bills that come across, please keep us in mind. Please keep the constituents, the children of your constituents in mind. And so in order to go to that conference, you have to be a member of CADCA, and it was 1,200, and I just kind of budgeted for 1,400 in case it increases this coming year for 27. Let's see. Office supplies, pretty much the same. I increased that just a little bit because I'm finding I'm really going to need to spend some money on organizing the pamphlets and the trinkets and the backpacks and all the stuff that I have for the schools. And luckily I haven't paid for them. They've all come from the Kent County Coalition, Prevention Coalition. So that's been great, but my office is starting to look like a warehouse. So I really need to kind of get that taken care of. Community programs, I budgeted 8,000 for the year. And going down to 7,000 is not a big deal. I think that's fine. A lot of that goes towards speakers. You really got to find speakers that know how to engage whatever age group that you're putting them in front of. Someone my age, they're just gonna fall asleep and not pay attention. And I get it. They want to hear from someone closer to their age, someone that's got the energy, someone that's got maybe the experience that they can share. And unfortunately, they can be expensive. The ones that are good, you have to fly them in, if they stay overnight, try to get as many classes in as possible, get as most bang for our buck that we can with speakers. Professional services, done away with that 100%. The only thing I used professional services for was when we were doing the logo, we worked with a graphic designer to get the colors, the image and everything right. So other than that, I can't see a need for any other professional services. Printing, I had allocated, again, not knowing what I would need. I allocated $2,000 at the beginning, dropped that to 500. So the only thing I plan on printing is getting together a trifold brochure that talks about the coalition, our programs, and just goes into a little bit more detail that we can hand out to people, that instead of just talking all of it, just here, take this, it tells you what we're all about, et cetera. So altogether, the budget has decreased by 17.5%.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So thank you.
Yeah. So I think, and it's all doable.
Yeah.
Again, the first year I had no clue where, where I was going to be, but it turned out okay. So just briefly, some of the things, the future things I would like to accomplish. Oh, first of all, I have to say, we had the 4 girls from the high school who came in and did the declaration, the proclamation for mental health, student mental health awareness. They won first place in their competition.
Awesome.
They went up against 7 other high schools because it was a Rhode Island state competition. They were the last ones to present and they won first place.
Yeah.
They worked very hard. They're great girls and I was very, very proud of them. So
Maria, I'm going to ask you to
Sure.
just finish up so
yeah.
we can begin our deliberations.
Yep. Oh, I thought you were
Yes,
asking
yeah.
something.
You
Sorry.
said you wanted to do
Okay.
a little
So,
bit.
I mean, I just made notes just now of like all the things that I want to do. So a brochure, I want to get an e-news newsletter going out every quarter to parents. Once I get those email addresses, I'm going to be working with the PTG now to reach parents in that segment. So doing that, let's see. I'd like to implement like an after-school program down the line. And like I said, have a club at the middle school and the high school. And get those kids involved in doing presentations. Like if we have a special guest at the high school, have them open up and say, hi, I'm a member of blah, blah, blah club. And our speaker today is blah, 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 just to get more awareness built that this is something that's normal now. We're going to kind of normalize good mental health, substance abuse prevention, where it's just part of the flow.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to just bring in the business community more. I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce and different programs for the high school and middle school. I really like to attach a business to that. So they could sponsor, car insurance, State Farm, whatever it is, to this essay contest or photo contest or video streaming contest, and really get people involved in the message from every aspect of it, from every part of it. So that wasn't good.
The only other thing I wanted to mention to the council is that doesn't show up in the budget is that we rerouted $15,000 a year the town receives from the Kent County Coalition, and that actually pays for the part-time staff members. So you don't see that showing up in the staffing line item. We actually fund it through another resource. So great. Thanks, Maria.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And I just got to say that there's also things I've got to do for the Kent County Coalition. There's certain metrics that I've got to reach for that too, but it's been wonderful. So thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much.
Thank you very much.
So that pretty much wraps up the departments. I will say, I'm sure the council took this away. When we're dealing with a a challenging budget cycle. It's easy to just focus on the numbers, and I'm sure that's what I did when I started the conversation this evening. But there are some incredible things that are happening in each of the departments that presented this evening that I think should make everybody excited about what we're doing. I appreciate the superintendent being here tonight as a valued partner in terms of our school construction committee and guiding that project, which continues to be on time and on budget, and really will ultimately really transform the way public education is provided in the community. So that does at times get lost in the discussion on the numbers, which are critical and really out front on our budget presentation. But I think that some of the department directors made it really clear tonight that there's some incredible things happening in town in all the departments, and it really changes the whole culture and the way that our quality of life is here in East Greenwich. So that concludes this evening. At our next meeting.
I just want to make a comment to follow up on that. Because we've been doing budget now for about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I feel the energy kind of fading a little bit. It's almost like it's time for the 7th inning stretch because every budget, there are challenges and rewards. And this budget is really no different than any other budget with our challenges and rewards. But the thing that comes home, and I think that Mr. Nada was speaking to as well, is that we're up to the challenges and there are tremendous rewards. So as far as the challenges, I think all the department heads who have come up to the microphone tonight have just shown their familiarity with detail, all of their projects, the development of their staff. It's just an amazing resources that we have. We're in very good hands. As far as financial challenges, we have a proactive finance department who I think is one of the best in the state. The ability to be very flexible and nimble. Our town adapts to challenges, it adapts to opportunities, as you've heard tonight. And as far as the rewards, the reward this time, the major reward is our new school system. And that is a transformative project for this town that we are perfectly capable of managing well. And it really will help to cement East Greenwich as the premier public educational system in the state. I really think we can make that claim. And our school system has so many advantages for our community because of its excellence. New families are coming into East Greenwich. That brings a robust Main Street. It brings in community organizations, parochial organizations. Our real estate values are very strong. Our town services are very robust for a small town. So I would say that this budget, again, is like any other one. But the town is up to managing it. The rewards are extensive. And we have a few more meetings to come up to see how else we want to adjust this budget to take advantage of any opportunities and to react to any challenges. So, Mr. Nada, as far as going forward, you want to outline what our next steps are in this budget?
Sure, really. I think first step is just scheduling the meeting. So I think it's really dependent on the council's prerogative regarding whether you're looking at a Tuesday, the 19th of May, or Tuesday, the 26th. And at that meeting, we're going to hear from our police department, public works, fire department, 3 of the larger departments, as well as some other non-departmentals, including insurance and claims. And then there's a discussion on some of the statistics associated with the school department as well. So it really is at the council's pleasure. That's really for the next meeting. And then I think we'll follow that with some information for the council that you've requested of us. We may be even able to start that at the next meeting, and that would be to focus on those scenarios that we discussed that are some optional reductions in the overall program, and we can help put kind of a number to where that impact would be felt amongst various departments in town. So,
because I think we do have a number of other non-budgetary items coming up as well, and a lot of interviews for boards and commissions. So what I would propose is that we meet on Tuesday, the 19th, and let the rest of the departments present their budgets.
They have a school committee meeting.
Just so you know, it is a school committee meeting night on the 19th.
Okay.
But you can certainly meet if you want.
Yeah, thank you. I think we'll try to keep moving our
We'll spare you.
budgetary because I think for members, I know that Councilor Corenthal is not going to be able to attend, but we won't be taking any votes that night. And I think you can get caught up with the deliberations. And then following that, we'll have the ability to have at least 3 more sessions if we need that many. But I'd rather just kind of keep the ball rolling and get the rest of the department heads to present, and then we can begin to hear some of the responses from town management.
So we're going to meet on the 19th, which I guess is the same night as the school committee, and then the 26th, is that correct?
26 would also be,
So we should leave those two open.
Yeah, Tuesday, the 26th is a regular council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, on the 26th.
And that's not a budget, so that's not a budget.
well,
It'll
it still would be.
We'll still be
be
talking
on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be on every one of
You're
our
gonna have
meetings.
to bring some coffee for this because
We also have the ability to meet on June, is it June 1st?
First,
June
yeah.
1st.
And then we have to adopt our budget by the 8th.
Well, you've got on or before the 10th, but you have a
Okay.
regular council meeting scheduled for June 8th.
We have
Monday.
one on the 8th.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I want to keep them moving along is because other business is going to begin to accumulate. We may not need the meeting on June 1st. We may be able to just do the 19th, 26th, and then close it on the 8th.
Well, I'm putting it on every single
Okay.
day, every single day now. Just
So
'cause-
why don't we, for now, plan on a meeting on the 19th, and we have a regular meeting on the 26th?
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good. And Lee, we're good scheduling wise on those 2 Tuesdays.
Well, that will bump the ZBR off of the 19th, and they had chosen that date because there was a conflict with what?
Zoning board.
The comp plan.
So we could do the 19th. We got to coordinate with Andy.
Yes,
here.
but it will bump the ZBR out of the council chambers, so
So we could maybe schedule that meeting here
we could.
if if it's available.
Okay.
Yeah. On the 19th, yeah. And then we'll follow up with the council chamber on the 26th.
What is being pushed out of the,
The ZBR had chosen to meet on the 19th because the 18th is the comp plan meeting, and they normally, no, hold on
No,
a
the
second.
zoning board always meets on Tuesday. That's their regular meeting night, the 19th.
Why are you gonna have to do 2?
It's the 18th, that's the joint one, you're right, but
That's right.
the workshop, but
Yeah, I'm just looking at John Studley was asking about the schedule. They had planned that meeting to avoid scheduling conflict with the week of Memorial Day. So I think they bumped it back a week.
right, it would have been the 26th.
Right.
Would have conflicted with you, so.
can we arrange an alternate
Yeah.
site for them?
I'm sorry?
Can we arrange an alternate site for them to meet if they're going to meet on the,
It's been advertised, so they need the town hall. So that we'll have to find somewhere else, maybe here, I guess. Yeah.
We can meet in the kitchen too.
yeah, we have to see if Swift is available.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I'm not really worried about
Yeah,
it.
it is.
The place for sure, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, that's a workshop on the 19th. So we could do, if the council's available, we could do 6 o'clock here on Tuesday, the 19th.
Write that down.
We could do it at the rec center. Oh, we never.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Yeah, you missed it.
Okay, so we're going to close our public hearing.
President Schwager, did you want to ask for public comments?
Yes, we
Adam?
do. Public comment. Anybody in person or online who would like to comment on the presentation that you've seen over the last few hours? Nobody online? No one publicly? So we will look for a vote to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
Motion carries 4-0. This brings us to item 5. I'm sorry, we did item 5. Item 6, new business. 6A is appointment of an alternate Democrat to the Board of Canvassers for a 6-year term to expire May 11th, 2032. We interviewed Roderick Stitt on April 27th, and I would nominate Mr. Stitt to be appointed as the alternate Democrat to the Board of Canvassers.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. 6B is an appointment of an alternate member to the Historic District Commission to fill the remainder of a 1-year vacancy to expire August 1st, 2026, and automatic reappointment for another 1-year term to expire August 1st, 2027. We interviewed Daniel McKinney on April 27th, and I would nominate Daniel McKinney for appointment as an alternate member of the HDC Commission.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Another opportunity for public comment. Seeing no hands raised. We will close public comment, move on to council announcements and comments.
I just want to say I went to an awesome Liberty Tree planting, even though it wasn't really a planting, but that was run in the town hall. And Lee ran it. It was amazing. It was really, really interesting. I was so glad I got to go to that. And thank you very much, Lee. Oh, and I also got to ring the bell, which I thought was the best part. It was cool.
Yeah, the Liberty Tree ceremony was great. A lot of our departments participated, community service and parks, clerk's office. I think the DPW helped plant the tree over at Varnum House, so that was great. We will move on to executive session. We do have an executive session for several items tonight, and I'd ask our town clerk to read us into executive session.
Motion to convene into executive session per Rhode Island General Law 4246 5A 2 and 5 for the approval of executive session minutes from April 27th and for sessions pertaining to discussions or considerations related to the acquisition or lease of real property for public purposes, specifically Bosch Farm, and for sessions pertaining to litigation, case number KC 2025-1228, East Greenwich versus Agricultural Land Preservation Commission, and for the purpose of discussing the lease with Happy Hearts Learning Center located at 2608 South County Trail.
Motion to convene in executive session.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we've concluded our executive session. On the results of the council's deliberation, item 9A, approval of the executive session minutes was passed 4-0. Item 9B, action was taken. Item 9C, action was taken. I'd ask for a motion to. And 9B, yes, Councilor Zarella was recused. I'd ask for a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session.
So moved. Second.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carries 3-0. And now motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.